Vintage ABS fittings. Let's start with a few P-traps. This first trap is what is known as an LA trap, where the wall elbow would glue onto the wall pipe, and then these threads would have a nut that would connect to a tailpiece. Now this particular trap is for 1¼ ABS pipe, and it was made by GSR around the 1970s. And you can see right here, that's what the GSR logo looked like. They were located in Sun Valley, California. Now they started using that logo around the late 60s, but prior to that they had marked the fittings with Sloan. The part number is 3220, 1¼ the size, UPC, Uniform Plumbing Code, NSF DWV, that stands for National Sanitation Foundation, Drain, Waste, and Vent. And a long time ago they had used that NSF marking, but later on they started using NSF marking in capital letters. And you can see on the other side it is the exact same. Now the next trap is the exact same style of trap, except it's 1.5 and it's made by a manufacturer I've never heard before. It's this, what I assume is called Landon. I can't quite make out that script. And I've never heard of them before, but this must have been from around the 70s because it has the older NSF DWV marking. 3221 is the part number, and ABS. Other side, same information. You can see the wall elbow was also made by that company. This last P-trap is just a normal union trap, where you have this end glue into the wall pipe, and then this end would glue into a piece of ABS. Now this would probably be used more for stuff like bathtubs. Now this trap was made around the 1970s by the Yardley Plastics Corporation, and they were located in Ohio, and that's what their logo looked like right there. They were founded around 1946, and they went out of business around 1986. NSFDWV, ABS, 63156 is the part number, and then the wall elbow has the same type of markings. What I find interesting about this trap is when I got it, there was a male adapter glued into there, and I'm not really sure why, is that male adapter was a new male adapter. So my guess is that somebody wanted to use this trap for a project. They probably had it as old stock, but then they ended up not using it. And I know they must not have been able to use it because they didn't glue anything into this other side, and the inside is also clean. So this trap is a little bit of a mystery for me. Now let's look at some normal ABS fittings, starting off with this ABS combo fitting. This is basically like a Y and a T in one. When you can't use a T on its back, you use a combo fitting. So you could have water go down here, water go through here, go out here, and it wouldn't clog like a T would. Now this particular fitting was made by Plastyline in Pompano Beach, Florida. Now, I think they were originally founded in 1946 in New York, but then they moved to Florida around 1959. It says NSFDWV right there, ASTM, and then UPC, Uniform Plumbing Code. Other side, it has the same exact markings. And what I find interesting about a lot of these old combo fittings is they don't make them the same way they do now. Back then, it looks like they would have taken a Y and a Street 45 and they would have heat fused them together. It doesn't look like they used glue. Next fitting is a Plastyline Vent Tee. This is made for venting applications where you're not draining water, but you're venting the system. That's a better look of the Plastyline logo. They had another logo prior to that one. NSFDWV, UPC, ABS Council. I'm not sure who they were, but I've seen them on advertisements for other companies. Same information on the other side. This fitting could be a little bit older. This could even be from the late 60s, but I'm not quite sure. That's just a very simple fitting, 1.5 ABS on each end. Now the last Plastyline fitting is this 1.25" trap adapter. Plastyline 1.25" by 1.25", ABS, some other markings, and then this is the slip knot. This is ABS, I can tell by the way it feels, but I'm not really sure why it's white. And this is the bottom. So this would connect to a tailpiece, and this would connect to 1.25" ABS pipe. What I've noticed about those Plastyline fittings is they look like a lot like those Crestline fittings did. I'm not sure if they use the same molds. I actually have one more Plastyline fitting, and this is a bushing. And see how this would work is you glue into an 2-inch hub, and then you would take 1.25 inch pipe and glue that in. Now it's pretty cool. This is actually a really well made fitting. They didn't hollow this out or anything to save plastic. They just filled it up. So this is a really, really heavy fitting. The next fitting is this Ubrand cleanout tee. Ubrand's full name was Union Malleable. They were founded around some point in the 1950s, and then they went out of business in the early 90s. This particular fitting was probably made around the 70s or 80s. That's the Ubrand logo, NSFDWV, UPC, made in USA. Not many fittings actually had made in the USA on them. Ubrand was one of the only companies I know of that did. On the other side, same information. And then this is the cleanout plug. Same information, but I think that cleanout plug is a little bit newer. That is probably from the 80s, maybe even the early 90s. But these both came in the same lot, so that's why I put them together. Next ABS fitting is this threaded bushing made by GSR. And sometimes they would just use simple GSR, not the actual logo. Sun Valley, California. NSFDWV, 1.25 by 1.5 inches. So you'd take this bushing, glue it down into a fitting hub, and then you can screw 1.25 inch threads in here. Now I wouldn't ever screw a metal pipe into plastic, but plastic into plastic is perfectly fine. Now all I'm left with is a few slip nuts and cleanout plugs. Both of these slip nuts were made by Ubrand. This one is a bit older. You can see how much more detailed it is compared to this newer one. This one's probably from the 80s or very early 90s. The Ubrand logo right there, made in USA. It's a newer style of the NSF marking. And then you can see this one has a lot more markings on it. A few cleanout plugs. The first one is this Amico Chemicals cleanout plug, 1.25 inch. 1.25 is a very interesting size for ABS. You won't see too many 1.25 ABS fittings. NSFDWV, some information over there, ABS, bottom, very normal looking plug. Amico is a very popular company around the 60s and 70s. And then one of these Landon fittings. What the logo looks like. You can see it looks like a piece of pipe with the logo in the middle. NSFDWV, ABS. Here's the bottom. This almost looks like one of those ABS fittings that they use on RVs. It's possible that this company focused more on RV drainage than drainage that would be used for a house or a commercial building. And then the last fitting is just a Nibco cleanout plug. I'm sure I've reviewed this fitting before. But that's what a lot of Nibco fittings had on them, was that Nibco logo. Some copper fittings have that logo, but none of the plastic fittings do. The older NSFDWV marking. And the other sides have no information. Here's the bottom.